That is, hold on.
Are we good to go over there with Senator James?
Hi, Delegate. You can go ahead and get started. She's just in the bathroom.
All right. Yeah. Council, are we good to go? Are we ready? Streaming and ready to rock? Did we lose council?
My apologies.
No, okay.
The meeting should be live now.
All right, so we good to go?
We are good to go.
I appreciate you. Thank you all. I'm sorry for the delay here. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time and out of you all scheduled to join this first joint committee meeting on children, youth, and families. I'm the House Chair, Delegate Kevin M. Harris. We have our Senate Chair, Senator James, with us as well. And we wanted to get this call this meeting to order. And once again, thank you so much for taking this time here. We're going to have a few briefings, some for today and then some in the near future in another month or two. But we wanted to bring everyone together to have a conversation, discussion on artificial intelligence when it's dealing with in the educational realm. So we're grateful to have some speakers here with us from the University of Maryland Center of Education and Data Science and Innovation. Dr. Jung Lee, as well as Maryland State Department of Education, as well as Baltimore County Public School System with Dr. Jennifer Kraft. And so we'll get started first with University of Maryland. So we appreciate you, Mr. Jung Lee. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. And we are turning the tables over to you.
Thank you, Delegate Harris. I'm gonna share my screen first. Please let me know whether you can see my full screen.
We can see it. Appreciate you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator James, Delegate Harris, and distinguished members of the Joint Committee on Children, Youth, and Families. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here to discuss AI in our classrooms, AI in education. My name is Jing Liu. I'm currently an associate professor in education policy at the University of Maryland, where I also direct the Center for Educational Data Science and Innovation. Over the past 8 to 10 years, I have been designing, developing, and evaluating AI tools in classrooms to learn about what works, what doesn't, and how can we ensure AI really benefits teachers and students. So I'm very excited to be here to share what I learned. I think it's important to situate us with a few numbers because after 3 years post ChatGPT in the world coming into the world, AI is no longer a buzzword, but is a reality. So in education, AI is seeing very fast integration into classrooms. A recent survey by the Education Week actually found that about 40% of teachers have incorporated AI into their regular teaching routines. That includes using AI to grade student work, using AI to make lesson plans, etc. At the same time, Microsoft released a report recently showing that 86% of education organizations now use Gen AI, which is the highest adoption rate among all industries. So that's kind of where we are with AI in education. So I want to use this presentation to first discuss key use cases of AI in education. It's very vast, but I want to give you a few examples. Then I want to provide a framework for how we can evaluate AI tools with research examples. Well, with AI tools now trying to really get into classrooms with really fast speed, I think it's important to think about the evaluation piece. Lastly, I want to introduce how UMD is building infrastructure to really inform responsive and productive use of AI in education. Before I start, I want to define what AI is, because nowadays everyone talks about AI, but not everyone is very clear about the scope of AI. Actually, way before ChatGPT came into the world, AI has been around for decades. That's kind of a category of AI I call predictive AI. As the name shows, the key goal of this kind of AI system is to make predictions, to do classifications. So you probably all have heard about machine learning, which is kind of the key component of predictive AI, which uses advanced algorithms to really learn about patterns in vast amount of data and make predictions. Relatedly, you probably have also heard natural language processing. Think about that as how your emails actually filter out spam emails, which is mainly using machine learning to study text or written human language. Computer vision, you can think about what's behind self-driving cars. That's kind of really to use AI to analyze images. Automated speech recognition, that's kind of the key technology behind Siri or Alexa. That's kind of recognizing speech and interpret and translate it. And lastly, recommendation systems. That's whenever you go online to do online shopping or like watch a movie in some online streaming services, they recommend the best services or products that fit your need. That's predictive AI. So nowadays, when people talk about AI, people mainly mean generative AI, which is actually more new, more of a new phenomenon in the world. So the foundation of Gen AI is actually large language models, which are trained on a tremendous amount of data, which mainly internet data. The key feature is Gen AI is able to generate text, images, audio, and increasingly videos. And it can engage users in natural back and forth conversation. I want to say that now a lot of AI tools in education is not exclusively just using Gen AI, but a combination of predictive AI, the more traditional kinds of AI, and also Gen AI. So there are many possible AI use cases in education. I just want to highlight a few to orient our discussion here. These are four scenarios I'm more familiar with. The first one is called personalized learning. Probably the biggest promise of AI education is to provide every child with individualized learning they need. These are adaptive systems that tailor content and pace to individual student needs. For example, intelligent tutoring is one of the main tool under this bucket. Then underneath, I think support for students with disability is another really promising area of AI using education. This kind of systems can automatically analyze student speech and behavioral data for early diagnose or screening to enable early interventions. I think the National Science Foundation and also the Institute of Education Sciences have invested in several AI institutes across the nation to support this kind of research, especially to use AI to serve students with disability. Then is automated speech, automated assessment and feedback, which use AI systems to assess student work or even the teaching processes that can serve as formative feedback, that can help teachers to learn about what they are doing well, where they need growth, or to learn about where students are standing. So this bucket is more of where my work is situated in. So I'm gonna provide more examples soon. Then is lesson planning. So many AI tools are helping teachers to do more efficient lesson planning by directly design lesson plans, activities, and materials aligned to a curriculum as well as the student body a teacher is serving. So these are just four examples, but there are many other possibilities. So to evaluate AI tools, I come up with like four main components. Of course, there are many other things to consider, but I think those four things are really the pillars of such evaluations. First of all, we need to ask how AI is used in a particular tool, because when people say this is an AI-powered education tool, they are not explicit about what kind of models are behind the scenes. So whether it's generative AI or more traditional machine learning algorithms, as I introduced earlier, those predictive models. If it's generative AI, which foundational AI models are used? Because different models have different performance in different areas. So it's really important to know what's the underneath models. Then what additional data are used to train or fine-tune the model? Those are some jargons, but it essentially means that whether this tool is basically just taking whatever out there to wrap it around some functionalities, or is actually developing some more domain-specific AI tools based on some foundational models. The second pillar I would say is data privacy, because as you know, AI systems are inherently data savvy. So they are all when teachers and students are using an AI tool, it inevitably is gonna collect a lot of data. So what data are collected? Where and for how long do EdTech providers gonna keep the data? And what are other uses, if allowed, for the data collected? So I think data privacy is really a main concern for educators, district leaders, when they are trying to incorporate data AI tool. So these are some questions I'm gonna ask before even evaluating an AI tool. Then we get to the impact of AI tools. The first question is usage and usability. So when you introduce an AI tool, how often are educators engaged with the tool, and how do they perceive the utility of a tool? Oftentimes we see that even for district to purchasing a tool, but educators rarely use it. So that's what I found in my research. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. But without frequent usage, you cannot really expect to see a lot of impact on teachers and students. So the last pillar here is about the impact or the effect of this given AI tool on teachers and students. Specifically, I'm going to ask, can we build a causal link between the tool usage and teacher-student outcomes? Meaning that whether we can draw a conclusion that by using this given AI tool, we can see student achievement grow by this percentage points or something like that. So to draw a direct causal link is kind of the gold standard for any evaluation work. And often requires random control trials or quasi-experimental methods, which are commonly used social science evaluation methods to evaluate the impact of a tool on stakeholders. So now I'm gonna introduce a more concrete example from my own work, which is called Empowering Teachers, which I have been developing over the past 8 years. This tool actually integrates deep educational theory, machine learning, and natural language processing as a complement to traditional human coaching. So I started to conceive this idea back in grad school when I saw that human coaching was really impactful because it's kind of a main modality for teacher professional learning. So we use coaches to help teachers for their professional growth. There's a lot of research showing the benefits of human coaching, mainly because it's very customizable. A coach will work with a teacher to identify their areas for growth. However, despite the benefits of human coaching, it's very labor intensive. Many coaches are pressed for time, and many schools are suffering from understaffing, so they cannot provide their teachers with enough coaching to support teachers' professional growth. So AI here can come in as an alternative or a complement to really help augment human coaching or even a replacement, meaning that we can use AI to analyze classroom data, and then we can generate feedback based on the AI systems. So this way we can increase the efficiency of this coaching approach, and also it will allow us to reach a broader group of teachers to provide this kind of feedback. So how it works is really, we start by recording a classroom, so we have the audio data, which captures the verbal interaction between teachers and students. Then we transcribe that recording and anonymize the personal identifiable information in that transcript. Then we apply machine learning or pre-designed natural language processing algorithms to the transcript and generate insights. Then we send this feedback to teachers privately to serve as formative feedback or like information for them to digest, so they know where they are doing a great job or where they need a little bit more professional growth. So this is kind of the interface of the tool. it shows a lot of information. We don't need to get into any details of this, but it's basically give teachers insights about their prior lesson in terms of how much their students are talking, how much they were talking, the language they were using, and also key moments of those instructional moves they incorporated into their instruction, so it can make their instruction process really, really transparent and clear to them, and then they can work on areas for improvement. So over the years, my colleagues and I have been conducting a lot of studies to evaluate the performance of empowering teachers. So we have published numerous articles to show the efficacy of this approach across a range of online and in-person learning settings. So they are all published in different journals. So those different random control trials suggest that ultimate feedback can improve teacher practice, student satisfaction, and even student assignment and other learning outcomes. And my team is currently expanding empowering teachers to 3 districts across the nation, and we are also in conversation with several Maryland districts to see whether we can incorporate this tool into their teaching routine. So over the years of working on MPT as well as evaluating other tech tools, I have learned several lessons from this work. First of all, I think we really lack evidence. Many districts really need guidance on vetting AI tools for effectiveness. As more and more AI education tools are developed every day, I think district leaders really need some concrete guidance about how to select those tools. Second, building evidence is really hard. Working from my years of experience working with districts, working with edtech providers, there are many, many barriers that prevent rigorous research to provide those kind of evidence that can inform decision making around edtech tools. Some of the barriers include, first of all, rapid changes in tech development. So every month we see a new AI model release, so it's really hard to keep up. When we are trying to evaluate an AI tool, maybe in the next month, a new AI model is already released. So what we are studying right now become obsolete. So that's kind of a constant moving target in terms of the tech development. Reluctance from educators. Educators are overwhelmed by their teaching responsibilities as well as many other things. So often the times when you try to work with educators by introducing one more tech tool, they would say no because they are already overwhelmed. Data privacy concerns, because as I mentioned, every AI tool will collect data, and how the data are handled is kind of not always transparent. So parents, educators, district leaders are all concerned about data privacy issues. Thirdly, implementation is really critical. We don't stop by just introducing a tool. A tool has to be actively incorporated or used by educators to really show benefits. So coherent adoption and also having humans in the loop to help teachers to incorporate the tool is really, really important. When I work with MPT, I see that when you give teachers this kind of feedback, they don't really even have time to digest the information. But when you pair the feedback with some light touch coaching, they really get engaged. So that's just one example of technology is now the end goal. We actually need to combine or integrate technology and a human to actually achieve the maximum benefits of technology. And lastly, this requires partnership. I think state leadership can really convene all the stakeholders, including researchers, district leaders, educators, edtech providers, to collectively tackle this issue and also set standards. At UMD, we are actually launching a lot of initiatives to really help inform responsible and productive use of AI in education. First of all, we last year launched AIM, the campus-level artificial intelligence interdisciplinary institute at Maryland, which is kind of a hub and to organize all the work around AI at UMD. Learning is one of the 4 pillars for the work of AIM, so education is really a big area for AIM to work on. Second, LC, which I'm from, so it's a new center under the College of Education that really aims to accelerate research at the intersection of data science, AI, and education. And we bridge researchers, practitioners, and tech providers to collectively work in this area. Lastly, AIRE Hub, which is a new idea proposed by our Dean, Kimberly Griffin, at the College of Education. We are proposing to have this hub to focus on developing guidance for implementing AI in educational settings based on high quality research and expertise. To give you one example of the work we are doing here, last week we actually just released this white paper, which is a framework for building high quality education data for R&D in the age of AI. So at UMD, we are not just stopping there by developing and evaluating AI tools. We want to serve as an enabler, meaning that we want to be the force that enables better tool building and AI use in education. And one key area is data. So why AI is so smart is because the data that behind all the algorithms is really important. But in education, a key limiting factor is that we don't really have high quality open source data from education to train AI models for them to be smart enough for education users. So here we are building this open source data set that will enable a lot of possibilities down the road. And this we are building a data set to fill the gap and also to balance privacy and accessibility issues, which are common concerns for educators. I'm not monitoring my time, but I'm gonna stop there and thank you so much for your attention and welcome any feedback and questions. Thank you so much.
Well, it would help if I unmute first. So appreciate that. I think Senator James is on here. So Senator James, I'll turn it over to you.
I think Senator James is muted.
Am I unmuted? Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Dr. Liu, or afternoon, and I apologize. I came in a little late, but I've been listening intently. One of the reasons we wanted to have you and the whole group in was an article I'd seen, I think, in the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun, which it should have been sent to you, and I'm worried that perhaps you didn't see them. But I think it was a discussion about perhaps Texas or Colorado, where they had gone in very intensively with AI, and I think this was sort of a private school or a charter school to see if they could bring up particularly underperforming students. And the article indicated that, of course, there's issues around it, but that they'd had a lot of success. I think the program was called Apollo, but I'm not 100% sure, and I apologize that you might not have seen the article. So I wanted to know if you're aware of this sort of private or charter school initiative in another state, possibly Texas, that relied heavily on AI tutoring to help teachers, basically augment one person in the classroom, and instead having lots of tutorial help with AI in the classroom and the performance of the students going up. Are you aware of that initiative?
I'm not aware of that initiative per se, but I would say that charter schools and private schools are probably at the frontier of incorporating AI because they have a little bit less barriers in terms of using these tools. From my experience trying to work with districts, I do see that charter schools sometimes are a little bit more ahead of the game in terms of incorporating AI. Yeah.
So let me go on from there, because if you didn't see the article, I think somehow it didn't reach you. And putting aside the issues of, in my humble opinion, there's no way any of this would ever supplant teachers. It's all about augmenting teachers and reaching more students and getting performances up. But I caught that you said you were working at least on 3 projects across the country and possibly doing 2 in Maryland, in
Mhm.
addition to the 3 that you mentioned. I'm actually surprised you're not doing more in Maryland, given Blueprint and all the expectations we have. Could you talk about how you are or will be working with, I guess, the Maryland State Department of Education, and what are the 2 projects that, or 2 or 3 projects you are perhaps getting involved in the state of Maryland?
Mhm. Yeah, of course. The 3 districts I'm working with right now are all out of Maryland, but I'm working very hard to try to recruit district to work on my research projects. So although I develop MPT, but with colleagues, but it's not an edtech product. It's actually a research tool. So I'm recruiting district to be a research partner. What I see is many Maryland districts still do not have AI policy in place. So
Yes.
a lot of them are very cautious about working with researchers, especially when it involves AI tools, because AI tools oftentimes has a very heavy component of data collection. So that's kind of where I think we are a little bit bottlenecked. But I'm in active conversation with a few districts. I really want the research we are doing here at UMD can really not only benefit other states, but also benefit our local teachers and children and districts. That's really our goal.
That is great to hear, because I noticed you'd said, and then I'll get out of the way and let others ask, but I'm terribly interested in this. I could have listened to you all day, and I hope you would you send us the slide presentation if you didn't already? You said one of the challenges for you now is the lack of evidence, because I think what probably is happening is AI is coming, I know it's been around a long time, but it's being integrated in some schools. It's all so new. People, right? Like you said, policies haven't been developed, perhaps. Data collection is imperative, in my opinion, so we can see what tools are working and what aren't, or where they work best. So sort of speak to me about, are you in contact with the Maryland State Department of Education and working on trying to get a collaboration where the tools are being rolled out, but data collection, bearing in mind privacy, will be addressed, and you can start assessing the tools that are being used, because that's incredibly valuable, I think, for our education. So give me just a little more about that, to the extent you can speak about it. And we do have the State Department of Education will be talking later too.
Yeah, I would love to work with the State Department of Education. So far, my approach has mainly been working with districts, because that's
Okay, that's
where data user agreements are built. That's where you start to recruit teachers. So working at the district level kind of makes the most sense for my personal
right. That's
research.
true. That's true.
Yeah, but for I think a long term, or for to really advance AI use at the state level, I think state university partnership will be really essential, and I really welcome the opportunity to start to have more conversations on this.
So I represent Harford County, and I would love to see them work with you. But are you at liberty to tell me which districts you are, tentatively working with right now?
I'm currently the most active conversation I'm having right now is with Montgomery County Schools.
I'm not surprised. I think no, I mean, that's a good thing. Okay, all right. I'll get out of the way and let others ask questions, and see if there's anything else I'd like to ask you. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the team? Delegate North.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dr. Liu, for this presentation. You mentioned a couple of times data privacy being a concern. Is it the fact that we're collecting this data, or the cost of storing the data, or all of the above?
I think it involves many components. One is personal identifiable information, right? So it's kind of protected by FERPA. And when you are using an AI tool, for example, is the foundation is actually ChatGPT, then if there's not an agreement in place, any data collected and processed by ChatGPT will be used to train their models. So that's kind of one concern, because data will be going into the cloud, and in theory, they will have access to that. But at the University of Maryland, when we work with district partners, we kind of make it clear how we are handling the data. Are the data only going to come to our own server? If we're going to use any generative AI tools, whether we have any agreement in place with a particular provider. For example, we have the enterprise agreement with ChatGPT, meaning that they will not use any data we process through ChatGPT into their training data. So there are actually a lot of technical details behind the scenes in terms of where data goes, how long is data going to be kept, and how it's going to be used. So that's kind of the main concerns.
Okay. Okay.
But you are right in terms of the volume of the data, because anytime you are using an AI tool, it collects a lot of information. Some of the tools I'm evaluating, it's not only student input by handwritten things, but it's also student speech data, which we know that is a very sensitive personal identifiable information, because you can actually use voice to identify an individual, right? 10 years ago, it was not. So I think the privacy issues are actually really evolving, because what we mean by privacy, how well we can identify individuals through different kind of data sources, is changing very, very fast. That's kind of a really difficult space and a quick evolving space.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Delegate. Senator Hedlund.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm curious as to whether in your research, you know whether educators are actually involved in the development of AI tools that are specific for education purposes.
That's a great question. I think code design or participatory design is really important for our research, because whatever AI tools we are developing, we want them to serve the stakeholders they are supposed to serve. So my collaborators and I have organized convenings to really bring together educators to try out different tools and listen to their needs. And for our new AI tool development, we also work with educators directly to learn about their needs and what they really want out of this particular tool. So I think increasingly it's a really important component for all AI tool development, because without educators or students and parents in the loop, whatever AI tool we develop will not be very effective. That's just the truth.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Senator. I don't see any other hands. Are we good? Madam Chair, you had any more questions, Senator James? You're on mute. Senator James, you're on mute.
Hold on. I wanted to thank the doctor and just say again, please send us that the PowerPoint. And I assume you would welcome follow-up questions because I think we have to move on today.
Absolutely.
Right? All right. Thank you very much. And thank you, Delegate.
No problem. Appreciate you. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much. And we're definitely, we'll keep moving because I know time is precious for all of us. So we'll move on to the next, Maryland State Department of Education.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman Harris, Chairwoman James, and members of the committee. I am on the tail end of recovering from an upper respiratory infection, so I hope you can excuse me for not being on camera today. I believe I've met most of the members of the committee already through prior other policy discussions, but for those who I've not had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Dr. Akila Aline. I'm the Executive Director of Government Affairs at the Maryland State Department of Education. And before our team gets started, I just wanted to share on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Wright that we wanted to share a thank you to the chairs for the invitation for MSDE to present to the committee today. I would now like to hand it over to two of my colleagues who will be presenting to the committee today, the first being Mr. Richard Kincaid, Assistant State Superintendent of the Division of College and Career Pathways. Richard, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lean, and thank you to Delegate Harris and Senator James and committee members for your time today. A couple of items on our presentation that we want to make sure to highlight. First, we want to take an opportunity to share with you some of the work that MSD has currently been engaged in for AI. Then want to talk a little bit about what's in the pipeline as far as deliverables, and then give a forward look on what's on our roadmap to support students, teachers, and families in the AI space. As Dr. Lean had mentioned, I lead the Division of College and Career Pathways, and within MSDE, my division is responsible for the rollout of instructional guidance and support tools for AI across the state. Before I get into my particular slides, I want to hand it over to Sean Rushing to detail some of the partnerships that we've developed in this work, which have informed sort of the deliverables and then our path forward as well. So I'll turn it over to Sean first.
Thank you, Richard, for that introduction. Let me start the slide. Can you see our screen?
Got it.
Excellent. Thank you. The Maryland State Department of Education is committed to ensure that our AI guidance will reflect the highest standards of content research, workforce readiness, and educational best practices. We have active participation in the following committees and partnerships at the state and national levels. On the first, MSD is a member of the SREB, which is the Southern Regional National Board, and also the SREB K-12 Instructional Subcommittee. Our representatives engage regularly with educational leaders from across states, higher education institutions, political leadership, industry representatives, and in the classroom. These resources that we are working with these individuals are the foundational reference for MSD's AI guidance and are also located in the AI hub that we have. Another group that we're part of is the AI K-12 Stakeholder Work Group, which is being led by Senator Hester's office. The work group will regularly meet starting in October to make recommendations on AI policy and resource development. MSDE is also assisting Morgan State University to develop 2 AI use surveys for educators in the classroom and central office leadership. Morgan State will compile and analyze the survey results, and we will share this information with the public. Another group that we're part of is Teach AI Government Agency Group and the Teach AI Literacy Advisory Group. These committees bring up national and international stakeholders to develop resources, and upon our finalization, we'll be able to publish those resources on the AI platform and the MSDE AI hub. These, again, were part of our AI guidance. MSDE sent 2 representatives as committee members to the AI sub-cabinet meetings. The goal is to develop a 2025 strategic roadmap to ensure safety of our citizens and building an infrastructure to ensure Maryland thrives in this new era. Another partnership we have is the AI Strategy and Leadership Network. This team is scheduled to engage in sessions this October through March. All of these collaborations are to help guide Maryland's approach to AI in education, so we'll be at the forefront of national best practices while addressing the unique needs of our state and educational community. Richard, I will bring it to you for the additional collaborations.
Yep, so there are a couple of additional collaborations that I want to highlight, 2 in particular. The first is our relationship with the Maryland Center for Computer Education at University of Maryland. MCCE is our strategic partner to provide computational thinking across kindergarten all the way through grade 12. We also, as part of this collaboration, contract with MCCE to provide a number of teacher professional developments, which have included recently training in beginner, intermediate, and advanced AI use and tools. And then the second partner is Code.org. Code.org is one of the nation's largest curriculum and student hands-on content providers, and we utilize Code.org in classrooms all across our state. Many of you may be familiar with Day of Code. Code.org is who leads that work, and increasingly they're moving into the international space, working with not only school systems and states within the US, but globally to develop best practices in the AI space. And we have strong partnerships with both of those organizations. Sean.
A moment to review our Conmigo AI pilot. MSDE assisted a 2-year deal with an AI tutoring platform, Conmigo. Two Maryland school systems decided to participate, Baltimore County and Dorchester County. Baltimore County used selected 8th grade mathematics classrooms for their pilot, and in Dorchester County created a comprehensive countywide approach where educators across all content areas can integrate AI tutoring tool in both classroom instruction and in lesson planning. Year 1 was primarily focused on professional learning and coaching. Year 2, the emphasis was deeper into the classroom integration with lesson planning process. Even though Baltimore County only deployed it in select 8th grade classrooms, there were around the same number of approximate licenses due to the vast size of Baltimore County. Next, I'll review the MSDE cybersecurity guidance when it comes to artificial intelligence. MSDE successfully released version 1 last school year for the MSDE's cybersecurity policy. We plan to have our 2.0 guidance published at the end of the month. We will make sure that we share this with the 24 LEAs so they can use our policy to help adopt their policies, and we will also have other instructional items when it comes to cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. It will come as a packet. All right, Mr. Kincaid.
All right, thank you. So in addition to the cybersecurity guidance, we're also in final stages of approval for AI guidance for K-12 school systems across our state. MSD is currently leaning into a number of resources that have informed this work, including SRAB's guidance for the use of AI in the K-12 classroom, of which a member of my team and also Senator Hester were responsible to help draft. Additionally, we looked at resources from Teach AI and then utilized current research findings, educational best practices, and lessons learned from other states as they've gone through their implementation experiences. MSD anticipates completing these final steps and releasing the guidance soon. The deadline I've given my team is early December, and we'll be sharing that far and wide as a comprehensive resource for schools across our state and classrooms and teachers across our state to understand what the guidance is related to AI use in classrooms. Next slide. Additionally, there's a number of professional learning resources that we have developed. You heard Mr. Rushing talk about the MSD AI Hub. This hub acts as a centralized public resource and serves the entire educational community. It provides comprehensive information through curated articles, blogs, national and state policy documents, guidance materials, and an AI glossary of terms. With regard to the resources, these are strategically organized into general resources alongside specialized sections for educators, students, and families. So this is an open link that is available to the public. The educator resources section explores tools and integration strategies, including examples that could be used within classrooms by content area and grade level. This is meant to be a living resource. We continually expand it and update it based on new and emerging materials. Additional sections are currently being built as the resources that we need to provide all of our stakeholders grows. And MSD envisions the AI Hub as Maryland's definitive one-stop information center for all AI-related educational resources to ensure Marylanders are informed to make safe decisions regarding AI use and integration. Also found within the AI Hub, MSD has created and published a free, interactive, online asynchronous module called A Beginner's Guide for AI for Educators. It's publicly accessible. It's a module that provides fundamental information, enabling participants to make informed decisions on how AI can best be used to complement the work that's currently happening in their classroom. Recently, the Maryland State Department of Education's Division of Operations completed a training on the effective and safe utilization of AI systems within their professional responsibilities. And finally, in December, MSD staff provided expertise to Maryland school leaders through presentations at the Maryland K-12 AI Leadership Summit, facilitating knowledge sharing and strategic planning at the district level. Next slide, please. We also have ongoing professional learning and communication. So for example, within my team, the Digital Learning Experience branch publishes a monthly digital learning newsletter featuring a dedicated AI section that highlights best practices and effective integration strategies. And that goes out monthly. It's distributed statewide to all school systems through our digital learning contacts. Additionally, the branch hosts collaboratives and learning opportunities for virtual learning, specifically for our learning leaders and also our digital learning supervisors. And these are both in person and virtual, and all include AI-focused sessions. There are also volunteer groups that collaborate on the creation of resources that are made available to all resources. In June, MSD staff supported and presented at the Summer 2025 Future Ready Maryland AI Education Summit. And again, these resources are offered free to all Maryland educators and administrators. Next slide. So, a couple of current projects that are in development. First, we have our AI guidance for K-12 schools that we anticipate being released very soon. Additionally, a beginner's guide to AI for families module will be integrated into the AI Hub. This is really exciting because this piece takes a family-centric approach. So as we are also training teachers how to best utilize AI in their classroom, we're also providing guidance for parents so that they understand what AI is, how it's being implemented and utilized within classrooms, and then also some best practices that families can lean into as AI becomes increasingly integrated into all of our lives. 3 additional information modules are in development, which will eventually make it to the hub. One is going to be specifically designed for students, and then in the pipeline, we also have 2 additional modules for educators. These initiatives, I think, demonstrate our commitment to comprehensive AI education that serves all stakeholders within Maryland's educational ecosystem, all the way from the classroom, all the way to households across our state. Next slide. So a little bit looking ahead. First and foremost, we're looking to expand our professional learning pathway, so creation of additional asynchronous modules tied to learning forward standards, which are national best practice professional learning standards, so that these can be integrated and replicated in our LEAs across the state. Also developing a train the trainer network to provide support, coaching, and instruction to designated school employees on integrating digital AI resources in the classroom. We know that when teachers have a coach or a mentor on site, somebody that can help them understand the complexities of AI implementation and how to make those complexities as simple as possible is really important. And so having that additional trusted professional is, I think, how we take a giant leap forward. Also developing an implementation toolkit, which will provide editable templates, questionnaires, assessment forms, and checklists that could be used by various stakeholders within a school system. Also creating stakeholder engagement resources to provide localized support and information to families and students as they progress through their AI journey. We're also developing a bank of AI literacy lessons and resources, discussion prompts, and tasks for all elementary school through high school students, so that teachers have an easy way to lean into and augment the work that they're currently doing. And then lastly, an assessment redesign sandbox. So a repository of AI-resistant performance tasks, process evidence rubrics, and reflection prompts that are connected to the academic integrity matrix that we have included in our draft guidance due later this fall. And then finally, monitoring and evaluation dashboard. So this delivers on the guidance calls for continuous evaluation and public transparency. As we implement AI, it's important that we also monitor and assess not only how it's being utilized, but also this continuous improvement model to find ways that we can enhance our practice and provide new and emerging resources for educators across the state. Next slide. Yep, so next slide. So normally this would say, thank you. And if you have any questions, I know Sean and I are more than happy to answer those for you.
No, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation there. A lot of in-depth information as well. So any questions from the team? All righty, Senator McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my understanding with AI can be customized as the user. So how does customization of a student, customization from a teacher, and customization from the overall State Board of Education to ensure nothing nefarious is being done? And maybe that's a little bit too deep in the weeds, but I just know that my understanding with AI, you can put into your profile basically how you would answer a question in in using types of vocabulary and the style. And so I just don't know where that fits in, and this may not be the right person to ask that question.
No, Senator, I appreciate the question, and I think this underscores a couple of important things. First, there are a lot of AI resources and tools and products that are out there, and as we are developing guidance, one of the careful needles that I know that MSDE and others are trying to thread is how do we discuss and document best practice and use cases while still remaining provider and product agnostic, right? And so to your point, recognizing how AI can become a silent partner in the work, right? How AI can help to elevate the practice of a teacher in a classroom, whether, to your point, it's a profile of a multilingual student who needs to have information presented to them differently, or that gifted and talented student where AI could be an incredibly useful tool to scaffold and provide deeper and richer ways for that student to access knowledge. I think how those are the sort of ways that we're wanting educators to think about AI in general, right? There are some tools that are going to do some of those things really well. I don't know that there's a tool that necessarily does all of those things well. I think there are also some tools that, to your point, can be somewhat nefarious if you don't have sort of a lens or a protocol to evaluate sort of the intent of the tool or where data is going from the tool. These are the sort of really difficult conversations that, you know, a bleeding edge technology like AI presents, particularly as our entire focus is to ensure students are engaging with technology in meaningful ways and being able to protect them even when, and their data, even when they don't necessarily know that they need that sort of protection. It's a difficult challenge, and my hope is that as we move through the fall, we release our guidance, we release our product rubrics, and we provide some samples of how AI could be prompted to meet the specific outcomes that a teacher or a school system has. Some of those questions can begin to be answered, but I think it's think it's a careful balance, you know, on that we all have to sort of navigate.
And to bounce
Thank you,
off,
Richard.
Senator McKay, just to bounce off of Mr. Richards' comment, MSDE and DoIT, the Department of Information Technology, has released cybersecurity guidance that we have shared with the LEAs, so they know what to look for when finding AI tools or building their own AI strategy to ensure data privacy for our teachers and students. So these nefarious companies wouldn't be able to use this information for their own benefit.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Chair James.
Thank you, and thank you to the MSDE panelists. I appreciate it. A lot of information, and would you please share your slide presentation with the committee? I'd like to have a copy of it. I'm going to ask something kind of globally. I hope it's not too convoluted, because I'm not sure how I want to ask it. But I guess what I'm trying to get a sense of is, right now there may be teachers across the state of Maryland that are already using some AI tools. I don't know, maybe there are. And ultimately, you all have given us quite a lot of work groups and the like that's going to develop or is developing all kinds of policies to be put out there. Maybe by the end of December, maybe some will follow and whatnot. What I'm trying to get a grasp of is where MSDE thinks it will be with these policies, and globally, what I'm trying to understand is is it going to be the case that across the state of Maryland, you know, all teachers, districts, superintendents, and principals are going to be able to use AI if they want to, or in a way they think it best suits them, or are we going to take a more involved approach, bearing in mind what Dr. Liu said about evidence-based or the lack thereof, and try to make sure that our integration of AI across our state, we use tools that are evidence-based, that they're effective in, you know, particular circumstances or across circumstances. I guess I'm trying to figure out just how managed this will be. And while I really believe in school districts having flexibility, autonomy to meet the needs of their community and reflect the goals of their community and their families, I also think it's so vast a area with so many moving parts, as you say, and you need daily, weekly updates on, you know, all kinds of information. I want to just get a sense very narratively about how MSD sees AI being rolled out across the state. And one of the concerns I have is one district, or might be, and I'll use Montgomery County, might go light years ahead and be doing great work with AI. Another district just, you know, for whatever reason, doesn't get behind it. But, you know, the evidence shows that integrating AI is very effective under certain circumstances. And I don't know if it's just going to be whatever people want to do, or if we're going to be encouraging it. And that's a long-winded question, and just a short sort of answer now, and we can certainly follow up later. I'm just trying to get a sense of where the state education department thinks it's going with all the AI policies that are going to be rolled out and all the guidance.
Yeah, I don't think that's convoluted at all. I think, but I do think there are a couple of pieces. So the AI survey that we're working on jointly with Morgan State and Senator Hester's office, some of the preliminary data that's come back shows us that while there is some, you know, AI usage, you know, almost on a daily basis in some classrooms, the vast majority of educators, while they may use AI in their daily life, are still struggling with ways to make it work within a classroom. And I think what that highlights is MSDE's role then becomes, how do we show places where AI could elevate the instruction, right? And so I lean into one example. In Austin, Texas, my hometown, The Alpha School is an entirely
Can I interrupt you 1 second and just tell you that you should have been sent an article about that, but unfortunately it slipped through the
Right.
cracks. This is why you're here, because I read an article about Alpha
Yeah.
and saved it and then asked it to be sent to all the panelists because that's what I wanted you to discuss. But so thank you for starting there.
Yeah, great. And so, one of the things with Alpha School, so it's for those if you didn't get the article, it's an entirely AI centric school. It's a mixed mode instructional model where students may be interacting directly with AI for the entirety of their coursework. And business and industry act sort of as guides or facilitators around the work. And there's been a couple of studies. Most of them are still sort of in development. Stanford, I think, is one of the most prevalent ones where it's trying to identify sort of what sort of progress, right, students are making now that they have these AI tools. And one of the really interesting findings first is AI cannot take the place of a teacher, right? Like there is still that human element that is deeply integrated, that relationship deeply integrated into the learning experience. But secondly, some pieces of the research actually show some backsliding, right? Because with what a student is able to know and do and accomplish. And perhaps one of the reasons, the study, explores is AI without an intended purpose, like connected to an actual outcome, actually creates all sorts of additional issues through the learning process. And so I want to underscore that and perhaps indicate that as we are thinking about policy movements forward, it's incredibly important that as a state agency, we are connecting AI usage to specific learning outcomes in ways that that relationship-driven teacher is able to use this as what I had referred earlier as a silent partner. It's what the New Tech Network refers to when they talk about technology in general. And earlier this summer, we had mentioned in our slide deck that we participated in an AI summit. MCCE over at University of Maryland had hosted it. I was on a panel with Senator Hester, and Code.org was on the panel. And one of the things that really sort of talked through on that panel is the importance of AI to be considered a tool, like in the learning process. And when you have a tool, you need to have a specific purpose, right? When you pick up a hammer and you're building a house, like you have a specific purpose. You're not using a hammer on a screw, for example, right? I think back when I was in school, I'm in that weird quasi generation where the internet sort of appeared around the time that I was in college. And a lot of the same conversations that we're having now around AI, I think we were also having back then around the internet. And it was going to come and be this, completely ubiquitous thing. And we were going to, use it for all of these things. And it was going to do all of this good. And I think what we've seen is the internet is really sort of an ocean and it does a lot of different things. And you have to be really intentional in how you are utilizing that tool and the specific purposes and the outcomes that you're wanting that tool to help with. And I think we find ourselves having that same conversation and eventually maybe the same realization with AI. And so as we develop our resources, as we develop our guidance, what we want to be able to do is build an instructional muscle so that a teacher who is teaching a concept knows that there are AI components, just like other technology components, that can help them and their students achieve a certain level of mastery within content, right? And AI can be utilized in classrooms to do amazing things like that. That's for a general education classroom. We're working with MCCE and others across the state. My team recently just had the state board adopt new standards for career and technical education. One of the new pathways that we've developed is an AI pathway, which takes this a much different way than the classroom that I just described. We're learning about large language models. We're learning about how to code the systems. We're learning about augmented reality and artificial intelligence and robotics. That's a much different approach, but these pathways are now becoming available across high school classrooms in our state because this is where jobs are located, right? And being able to do these sort of tasks. And so I think Maryland is in a really unique place right now where we're building that muscle K-12, but we're also building that specialized skill set. And AI lives in both places, but it looks very differently in both places because of the intended outcomes.
I appreciate that, but could you just be a little more concise? Do you think that MSDE will there be the ability for school districts to never use AI just because they don't want to? Is there going to be a sense that every school district should eventually use AI? Now, in some way, understanding that the first thing you got to do is get all the professional teachers to be as comfortable. And if you didn't hear me earlier, I always said AI is an augmentation, never a replacement. And that's, I think, what everybody agrees on. Is it your sense that it's going to be somewhat defined how we, press upon school districts to use it, with best practices and evidence-based, or is it going to be very much a volitional, we're rolling out the policies, do what you want with them, whether you ever use it or not? I just really concisely, what's your sense there?
Yeah, I think probably the second item that you mentioned, I don't see MSD mandating AI usage across the state. What I do see it's doing is providing safeguards. If you choose to use it, here are ways to use it, and here are ways to use it safely.
And lastly, would you or anyone else in the state eventually want to have testing on, all of a sudden school districts are using various AI, but nobody has a mandated, let's see if it's helping and working. That's where something like Dr. Liu comes in, where, we want to know that the tools, when it's new, I understand we don't know, but you'd want to have the tools you're using be shown to be effective by collecting data, or having data having been collected elsewhere before we even used it. So
Yeah,
where do you think MSD in that?
Yeah, I think even on that piece, if schools chose to use AI through the assessment process, I think, if we came to that place, we would have guidance on how to effectively do that and ensure equity. But on that piece, that is a decision of our state superintendent and our, accessibility team, not me.
Okay, so we're not there yet. All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. Any other questions from our team? All right, and we appreciate MSD for coming here. That's a lot of great information. I'm pretty sure folks will probably have follow-on questions. We appreciate if you shoot us those slides. Just in case folks have follow-on questions, we'll shoot those over to you. This is an important topic, and so as it grows, I'm pretty sure we will all grow with it. So
Indeed.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we for our last speaker is from Baltimore County Public Schools, Dr. Jennifer Kraft. We appreciate you being patient with us, and we'll turn it over to you at this time.
All right, can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Great. So thank you so much for, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to share how PCPS is using or leveraging AI for reading growth. And so, okay, you don't want to present. Okay, so today I'm going to briefly, I know we're kind of at the end, just talk about how we use the AI tool Amira to create equitable literacy outcomes. We're going to talk about how Amira integrates practices aligned to the science of reading, and how we've really used it to support families in promoting reading at home. And so what we know is that reading matters. And so I really want to just start with, you don't just take AI because you're like, oh, it's cool and flashy and new, but you look for what you need based on any given situation. And what we know is we need to improve reading outcomes. And so on the screen, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, but what we know is that students that read more do better. They have more words in their vocabulary, and we also know that they will score better on assessment. And so that's a national study. What I wanted to show you was our district growth from the beginning of the year for school year 24 to 25 to the end of the year. And what we have done is we have classified students into what we call low usage and high usage. And so high usage means that they are meeting our superintendent's goal of reading 30 minutes a week. And if they are reading at that level consistently across the year, what we're seeing is almost 22% more reading growth by the end of the year, just adding that 30 minutes of Amira in each week. And so there's a couple of reasons why we chose to leverage AI. One, it was really about equity. And so understanding, is my screen changing? Are you seeing why BCS chose to leverage AI?
It's not changing.
It's not changing. Okay.
Not mine anyway.
All right. So let's see what I can do here. All right. It's presenting. I have two screens, so I'll just show you it in this mode. So can now you see why BCS chose to leverage AI?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So sorry. Double screens. I'll remember next time to unhook my second screen. And so there were really so I'm sorry, let me just back up to the graph really quick, because I think it is powerful to understand that we are seeing that 22% reading growth by using Mira. So there really are three buckets that I want to talk about why we selected to leverage AI and specifically Amira in Baltimore County. And one is around equity. And it's really ensuring that all students get daily individualized coaching, even if there isn't a one-to-one adult available. So when we think about classrooms of 24, 25 students and thinking about being able to read to students 20 minutes a day, mathematically, that's just impossible without leveraging AI. It also provides actionable data. So it basically is able to strengthen teacher insight. So every time Amira delivers an micro intervention, which we'll talk about in a minute, it generates data for small group or whole class planning. And Amira is able to individualize feedback to that student in the moment. And so by giving high quality feedback, student reading improves. And we know that fluency is one of our very important standards that bridges decoding to comprehension. And Amira gives that time for students to not only practice fluency, but when they do become fluent enough, then they are also able to practice comprehension.
I don't want to interrupt you, but what is Amira? Could you just give us a sentence? Because you keep referring to it and I have no idea what it is.
Yes, absolutely. So Amira is a reading tutor that is used one-on-one. So a student reads out loud. So a passage appears on the screen if they are reading connected text, and the student reads it. And as they are reading, they have an opportunity to get corrective feedback in the moment when a struggle occurs for the student. And so that really is building not only oral reading fluency, but also comprehension. Is that good, or do you want a little bit more?
That is excellent and fascinating. And, after this, send me some more information on that particular tool. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right. All right.
So one of the things that really attracted us to Amira is that it is aligned to the science of reading. We have done a lot of work in our district about the science of reading. And so for us, this was really important that if we were going to select a tool, maybe it would be equitable because everybody could use it, but would it also further what we knew about the science of reading? And it absolutely does align to the science of reading. And so Amira uses micro interventions to intervene at the point of need. And so they have micro interventions that are aligned to the science of reading. And so what you can see on the screen is that students that are reading like 20 words correct per minute are mostly going to get decoding and phonemic awareness scaffolds. But students that are reading above 100 words per minute are mostly going to get help with language comprehension. So it really is targeting what students need. So let's talk a minute about those perfectly timed micro interventions. And so what we know is that when students are reading and they misread a word or a phrase, or they're just really, they're stuck, that Amira does analyzes what the student is doing, the miscue, or how they misread it, or if they just aren't saying anything. And they then go to a library of selected interventions that have been curated and delivers it to the student. And so they do not, so if you're thinking about a student that maybe is a striving reader that is missing a lot of words, it's not doing it with every word. But when they are seeing patterns of words, they are stopping and helping the student. Just like when we're reading with our own students, who are our own kids, we're not going to correct everything that they get wrong because they would lose the whole meaning of the text. So it's really this idea of that you're delivering an intervention at the right moment. And so they do 3 levels. So one would be at the word level, the next would be at the phrase level, and the third is at the story level. And so whenever a student gets stuck, Mira is there to help the student out. And so this is important because when a student is reading independently, there's nobody telling them if they're reading right or wrong. And so sometimes that reading isn't leading to measurable gains. And so really how we have used Amira is as integrated, purposeful daily practice. And so we do embed it into our centers, our rotations, our morning routines as meaningful, independent work. Students read aloud to Amira's voice recognition using AI. They get immediate feedback on their accuracy, expression, and pace. There's reports for teachers to use to then plan responsive small group or whole group instruction based on what they're seeing across their class of students. And then what we have noticed is that when integration use is consistent, fluency growth and engagement also rises. And I know that sounds self-explanatory, but we've actually been able to really see it play out in our district. And so one of the things that we really talk about is that this idea of student ownership and setting goals. And so, you know, students, as I've gone around to our different schools, describe Amira as a reading coach. We've also noticed that we are responsive. And so although we do have a goal of 30 minutes per week, we also understand that there's school events, school plays, there's field trips, there's, you know, testing cycles. And so we are also responsive to that. And I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures. I know I'm tight on time, but there was some students that wrote to Amira because they do see her as lifelike and told Amira what they liked about her. And so you will see anything from the "Dear Amira, thanks for helping me with big words, and I love your dog. Thank you, Amira, for helping me sound stories out." And so they really are seeing Amira as somebody that is in their corner helping them. Additionally, we have really used it in terms of family engagement. So there have been family literacy nights where we show them exactly how to use Amira at home and how they can reward and give incentives to have them read those stories. We also give them a demo that shows how Amira gives that feedback and how it tracks their fluency growth. And then there also are parent reports that can be sent home, and we also make sure that there are progress conversations when we have parent conferences. And so here's a few pictures that I took at one of our family, well, 2 of our different family nights last year, where parents were getting the opportunity to go through rotations and learn more about Amira. And as you know, anytime we use something new, whether it's based in AI or not, that there has to be a professional learning and support systems. And so we have done multiple things to ensure that teachers feel comfortable using this new technology. And as I heard, the presenters before me, you know, there are what I would call late adopters who are very trepidatious about using AI. And what I can say is we've turned the corner. Where people see this as being able to help them help students better. And so we have multiple things in place to help provide professional learning for administrators as well as for reading specialists and teachers. So just recently, and I'm not going to spend long on this slide, but we presented at the Principal Leadership Development, and we talked about, okay, guess what? Here's the Amira usage reports, and here's what's new for this year, and here's how you can use it. And so that's just an example of how we used it. And then we even drilled down for the principals about what could you do as a leadership action? If you see this in your usage reports, then what could you do? And so we are very aware that you can't just drop a tool in a school and say, this is a really good tool and use it without providing support along the way. So we have learned a few things along the way. We did learn that there was some connectivity lag in some schools. So we worked closely with our IT, and they were able to go out, do some testing, and do some upgrades where necessary. In between times, they found places in the building and in the classrooms that were good places to read, and they put little pictures of Spot, which is Amira's dog, by there, so the students knew, oh, if I sit here, I'm going to get a real good internet connection. And I think that just speaks to the realities of the day to day. Like, it would be great if every building had, full capacity, but as we were getting things fixed, there were workarounds. If there were scoring anomalies, we escalated that to the vendor. And so there are times, just like in our own practices, that we have to do range finding to make sure that we're all being consistent. We did the same thing, and the vendor worked very closely with us to make sure that scoring was accurate. We were transparent with the community. I heard another of our presenters today talking about the importance of data privacy. So Amira, we have a signed data privacy agreement, which means that they cannot use our data, that it is our data. They may not use it in any other way. And so we are very transparent with our community that this is actually what's called closed AI. So as opposed to generative AI, where it could go out and pull on anything, closed AI is where you really build a model and it's only drawing from things within that model. We also saw some variable usage, and you saw some of the things already along the way that we asked peers to share. This last PLD, the Principal Leadership Development, we had principals share, even though our device allocation was reduced, how they've already been able to meet that 30-minute goal a week. And looking ahead, we do have fewer devices. As we know, money was tight this year. We moved from a one-to-one model where we now share carts within classrooms. And so we were able to share different solutions at the last PLD of developing buddy classrooms in different ways to ensure that students still have that opportunity for 30 minutes a week. And so really, what I want to say is that really AI can be great. So when you're using AI responsibly, for us, it was to really create equity opportunities, make sure that all students had opportunities to read and get feedback. And this allows us to sustain equitable daily fluency practices for all students because we know the amount of time students spend reading matters. And lastly, I just want to say that it's so important along the way that we do celebrate success. And so you will see principals come in, have class celebrations. They sometimes will have balloon parties when they get to a certain number of minutes. Even teachers get recognized. I was out helping a school the other day and I saw right outside someone's classroom, top class. And the teacher had hung that up. They were proud that they were the top reading class. And so we make sure that we also celebrate those wins along the way. So thank you again for this opportunity to share what we are doing. I'm very excited about the opportunities we're giving to students and the growth that we are starting to see. And I certainly can take any questions at this point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kraft. That was some great information. We appreciate once again your patience in getting to you on this agenda. We do have a question from Chair James.
That was a great presentation, particularly when we started with Dr. Liu and we needed to start with him at that level, and then the state, and then to have, a real example of AI being successful. And you can follow up mainly after the presentation, if you would just write to me or write to the committee. Yeah. But as with everybody else, please give us your slide presentation. Absolutely. And just so very generally, a couple of questions. How did you all find Amira, decide on Amira, if you will? And then is it available? Maybe I missed it in your presentation, but how widespread is it? Is it it's a pilot program that's being used in just a couple of places? So that's my first question. Then I have a second one. So how did you who found Amira? How'd they find it? And how wide, and what's the project looking like right now? A pilot, or is it everywhere?
Okay, great question. So we actually had followed the 6002 process to adopt a new elementary curriculum.
Okay.
And at the time, HMH owned Amira. And so
Who did?
as we were, so say that again.
Who owned it?
Oh, HMH,
What's
the
HMH?
publishing company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
HMH.
fine. All right.
And I can send you a link to their website too.
Okay. Yes, please do.
So when we were looking at solutions, I started looking into it, and so we were able to look and see some of the impact it had, not only in their national studies, which I will send you some of those too.
Okay. Yes.
But also we talked to some school districts that had similar populations. Particularly, we were also looking for things that would support our multilingual learners. And so we talked to a school district in Texas and a school district in New York, and who had been having success. So we started the process of looking at it. And so we decided, we were so impressed with what was happening, we purchased it for K-3, knowing that that foundational reading skills is so important. Now, last year, interestingly enough, you didn't quite ask this, but I'll add it in. We did pilot it in 4-5 for students that still had fluency gaps. And they actually, so although you saw the gains in my K-3, which I'm proud of, we actually saw for 4 and 5 almost a 39% more, not 39% improvement, but more than students that didn't read. So what we have seen is that it is really, really helpful for students. So this year, again, we're providing it for K-3, and schools can use their community school funds or their Title I funds to provide it for students that need it in 4 and 5.
And then this, again, very narratively and briefly, and follow up if you don't feel like you fully answered this question, but give me a sense. So you've got Amira, K-3, 4th and 5th graders who are still experiencing problems, and the students are allowed to use it at variable time. I loved all explaining the connectivity and what you do with fewer devices, but just in general, is there a couple of designated teachers that then just are overseeing the students? I mean, not really watching them, but just generally in the vicinity while the students navigating the machine. Is it in a classroom? Just give me a sense of, you've got a bunch of third graders in Amira right now, and how are they using it daily? Very generally, is there a teacher involved, et cetera?
Yeah, great question. So we really, in addition to those times I talked about, like, before school or, during independent. So a lot of times where it's most often used is during what we call meaningful independent work. So a teacher is pulling a small group of students, and what they used to do would be a variety of things, but this is something that can be done. And the nice thing is, once they learn how to do it, they don't need a teacher monitoring them, because a teacher can actually listen to all those recordings later.
Oh, so that's good to know. I see
that, Jen Craft is not on task anytime she reads. I can go listen to Jen Craft's recording. But what I wanted to share, I came back to this slide in particular, because this was actually, I took this when I was out at a kindergarten class. These small kindergartners, I love kindergarten. I actually started teaching in kindergarten, had a little step-by-step visual of what they needed to do to get on. But you also see that their pencil is taped on there, so they can also track, and I'm pretty sure I put a tracker here, how well they are moving along in their stories. And so even our youngest 5-year-olds are able to, once we've taught them, able to navigate it to themselves. And Amira is that self-explanatory, and she'll cue them. Or she'll be like, oh, I can't hear you. Did you pick a story? That type of thing.
Well, that is a great answer. Just really quickly, because they should read out loud. And that is really what I taught my own children. I'm not a teacher, but I taught my own children. If you really want to figure out if you're learning, read it out loud. So I assume the child does need to be, I would think, a little bit private, so they can, read out loud, not everybody listen to them. So do you have like some little designated areas for independent study, and a student can get a little privacy while they're reading out loud? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's a great question. Different, and I'll be honest with you, different teachers do different things, but typically there's never more than 4 or 5 kids reading at a time. and they do try to space them out because you also don't want them to distract each other. But
Right.
I have been in classrooms where they've used the like kind of trifold board, privacy board.
Right.
They definitely have headphones, so everybody has headphones on. That's reading at that time, but also some people have, corners. Like I was in a room the other day and they were reading in the beanbag corner. And so they were by
Right.
themselves on a beanbag reading. So, there are variable things to do, but that's some of the best practices that we do share with teachers about making sure that students, especially our students that are striving readers,
Right.
do have that privacy and can feel confident to read aloud.
All right. Well, I've tried everybody's patience with numerous questions. So thank you. Please send that presentation, everything else. You better believe I'm going right back up to my my superintendent and people in Harford County who I have a great relationship with and excitedly talk about what I learned here today. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions from our team? Seeing like that is it. So you were our last presenter. So I appreciate you, Dr. Kraft. Appreciate you so much on your knowledge and your time that you had to spend with us today. It's really helpful. I'm sure we will be in touch with more questions, more thoughts, more expansion. And so we appreciate you and your time. So Madam Chair, it looks like we are done here. Any last words from you?
Just thank you, Delegate Harris, as always. I really appreciate all your help with the committee and thank every member who joined us today.
Appreciate that. Same to you, Chair James. We appreciate you. We appreciate the staff and the DLS staff and council. We appreciate, you all did a yeoman's job to get this all together. We appreciate you. Trust me, I promise you, it did not go unnoticed. We thank you for your patience with us and the whole 9 yards. So thank you so much for your time and your attention. Team, we appreciate your time. And we are adjourned.
There you go.